we've changed that culture, and
Mhm.
I will sacrifice nothing. I won't, take more money. I won't take any more savings to sacrifice the culture that we've built, the
Mhm.
piece that our team has, the camaraderie that they have. Um, that's priceless. And so we're looking for good human beings first. And then, if you need some technical training, we'll get you that. Everybody's capable. But first and foremost, you got to be an exceptional human being and a good culture fit.
They say it's lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. I've spent the last 8 years embedded in our local business landscape, and I've learned one thing. Facts only tell half the story. I'm Ann Donnelly. Join me for an intimate look at the minds of the innovators and leaders shaping our region. We aren't just talking business, we're talking legacy. From the North Country Media Network, upstate New York's Voices of Authority, this is Building Success Stories.
So I'm here today with Jared Humiston, President and CEO of Adirondack Technical Solutions, more commonly known as ADKTechs. Hi, Jared.
Good afternoon. How we doing?
Doing good. Thank you. So why don't you start telling us about how this all started? You're celebrating your 20th anniversary now.
Yeah, we just finished our 20th year, and literally how we started was with one customer. So we had a customer, Tony D'Amato's at the time. My wife and I were renting an apartment from him, and he had been looking around for some support services and been having trouble finding some companies that would deliver some consistent results. So he goes, "Well, I remember you telling me that this is what you did. Would you be willing to take a look at this for me?" So that's where we started. Before we know it, that was our first win. Started out as kind of like a side hustle, and then he told somebody, then they told somebody, and then they told somebody, and before we knew it, we had 40 or so customers, and now here we are today.
How quickly did you scale to 40?
Pretty quick. I would say within 3 or 4 years. So we probably added 8, 10, 12 customers a year for quite some time, and then as we continue to scale, that over time was a model that proven wasn't going to be as successful as, say, the model that we have today.
So tech has changed a lot over the past 20 years. What sort of things were you doing back then?
So there was much different than today, whereas most everything was built around hardware sales and physical, on-premises, solutions, cabling, putting in, hardwiring, in your wireless access points throughout buildings, putting in new firewalls. You were essentially building out a small cloud for each, individual, company. So we were, putting in a server, putting in remote access, whether it's remote desktop services, VPN services, so other workers, so the employees could connect remotely. So we hosted their own email servers, hosted websites. So back then, every single customer was pretty much having their own little private cloud built just for them, and you had to connect and protect all that data. Whereas now, majority of services reside in the cloud, and they have distributed access for all of their whether it's software, whether it's data. It's all accessible from their phone, from their laptops, from a plane, from an airport, from their house, from vacation, and it's less steps to gain access to all that information as well. So,
But also more security needed now.
yeah. Obviously, as you have, the information travels around a little bit more, and it's accessible for more devices. You have a little bit, bigger job to do with cybersecurity. So we've shifted a lot from, hey, we're going to sell you some computers, which we still do to this day. But, that was a bulk of what we used to do 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and now it's, hey, you have a lot of data that's floating around that's accessible to the, anytime, anywhere. And that includes, people that don't work for you. So how do we, still provide those traditional services while at the same time, scaling those protections to protect that data that's, either at rest or on the move. So
when you started, were you located up in upstate New York at that time?
yes, yep. We've been located in the same place for pretty much the last 20 years, now 21st.
And you're shortly moving?
We are. Yes. Yep. So that was, one of the dreams that we talked about here locally was to build a multi-use building, that not only supported like our business, but some other businesses to, attract employees. That was a dream. Argyle is a small town, so you need to give reasons for people to travel there. So if we were going to scale and bring in employees from other areas, we were looking to do daycare, restaurant, gym.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Provide some of those things. The infrastructure was not there. We've waited here for like the last 15 years for sewer, water, and things like that, just so keep construction costs down. And today you're looking, 15 years later, that same sewer septic solution for a mixed use building would be triple, and it's not economically feasible. And where we're moving to, the old Suzuki Armory, dealership there on 17, that's now Moreau Commons. I've looked at that for 10 years and I've always moved, didn't want to move. We've looked into it a bunch of times. And, when we saw that Ben and Brian had purchased it and what their vision was, that kind of aligned with exactly what we were looking at doing, that mixed use building. There's good traffic, good locations there, puts us closer to, hundreds of thousands of more people in the Clifton Park area, puts us a short drive there as we look to expand. Puts us more centrally located to our customers. So, as costs are rising, cutting down on travel, increasing our reach to, talent, both north and south, that's a great location. And the vision that Brian and Ben have put into that building, how it's come along is, was great. And like I said, it aligned with exactly what I've been wanting to do for 15 years. And, so sometimes you get to join a vision, sometimes you get to create a vision. And, in this case, we get to join, Brian and Ben's vision there, and it's a place we've wanted to be. And it's a place they created, and so it's. I think it's gonna be a win-win.
You mentioned having better access to like Clifton Park, because here you're like in Argyle, you're in Washington County, which is a great place to be, but not heavy with businesses. So that access to sort of the southern part of Saratoga County. But how far is your clientele now at the moment?
Right now we expand the whole East Coast, and so primarily our focus is the talent reach. So we have customers up in, we go from, California or from Florida to Maine, and we have people with branches, and so we cover quite an area. But the main here is to expand our reach, from a talent perspective. So as we grow the business, we've had people before that have worked here for a year or two, and the drive from Boston Lake or Clifton Park or from Schenectady or Albany, every day it's daunting. I worked in Albany for years, driving from Argyle, and the pay was good. Losing 2 hours of your day was tough. And so, Washington County, we're low on numbers, and the numbers are getting lower every year. And Saratoga County is growing in numbers. And that's like I said, a great, easily accessible area. When people are heading north, the South Glens Falls, Queensbury area, the main traffic is going south to Albany. And when you go home at night, everyone's headed north from Albany, and you're headed south. So it's a good location, from that perspective, and easily accessible from the northway from bad weather. Even though I know there's a lot of hybrid working and things like that, but in IT, when there's power outages, there's poles down, there's things like that, we're working. That's when we're making sure that we're getting everybody back up and running as soon as power comes back and doing all that stuff. So,
okay. So how many people do you have working with you now?
We have 10. So, we've been pretty efficient, even as we've grown in revenue here over the last few years, we've grown, 20% each of the last 2 years. The ability to use AI, the ability to, streamline processes, has really made us efficient. About 4 years ago, we had hundreds of customers and we're down to 50. So we're more specialized, more efficient, larger companies. The biggest thing with having hundreds or thousands of customers is it's always reactive. In this business, you got to be proactive. You have to be ahead of the game, got to be ahead of the people that are trying to take advantage of your business, trying to, take your data, trying to cause harm to your business. If you're built for hundreds of thousands or, hundreds or thousands of customers, there's really too much chaos going on, and there's just no possible way you could ever be proactive for all those accounts. There's going to be gaps in your protections and in your coverage and in your support. And, we decided to, bigger wasn't always better. We maintained and grew the revenue while significantly lowering the accounts that we manage so that we can thoroughly go through alignments and make sure that everyone adheres to the same standards and cybersecurity protections that are needed against today's threats. So, that's increased our retention for our employees. That's increased our, client retention, service levels, less chaos. I'm happier. Employees are happier. Customers are happier. We're no longer working through the night or working weekends because it was a reactive model. And, we've really been focused in on, our value is your uptime, and if me and my team are at your place on the weekend or working through the night, you're not able to take care of your customers. You're down, your team is frustrated, your customers are frustrated. And so, the way we look at it is, you're going to pay for it one way or the other. Do you want to, have someone do a proactive and do a great job? Or do you want to, pay for it by losing customers that lost faith in you because you've been down for 3 days because everybody was reactive?
That sounds like a very strategic planning for you to make that change in your model versus scaling in numbers versus being more focused with your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in this industry, just like in nursing or, truck driving, right? I mean, these are difficult jobs. 15 years ago, a badge of honor was to say, I worked through the weekend. I restored the company, right? We restored them back full. It took us 3-4 days, but man, we didn't sleep. And that was the technology at the time. But with today's technology, if you're talking in days and weeks rather than minutes and hours, you're really outdated. And part of that equation is in this industry, there's a lot of turnover, right? A lot of competition. And if you're constantly turning over your team, you're constantly retraining your team. So you're putting your energy into retraining the next employee, telling them about company A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and what they have configured and why. And they have to figure things out for the first time. And so that tribal knowledge of, just knowing what all the accounts are about and why configurations are the way that they are. If you have a lot of turnover, that's a lot of frustration on the client side. So when they're calling in and they're saying, hey, I used to talk to Jason or Jan and they knew what to do. And now I'm talking to, Ricky and Robbie and they don't know what they're doing. And, I've been down for, 2 hours and I have an appointment, important meeting coming up. That's just been going on forever. And so that was causing, frustrations from employees and then also, customers. But then you also have these different billing models. We're going to bill you this way, this way. We just went to one billing model. Team knows exactly how to bill the log their time. Our customers know exactly what the cost is going to be every single month. There's no fighting over invoices. There's no employees feeling like they did something wrong because we had to credit time back and they did something wrong. And so now we cover everything A to Z. The customers know that that's all being handled and our employees are happier. And it's a much better experience than the chaos that used to be in our business, in this industry in general. We just decided to go about it a different way. Instead of, hiring more people and throwing people at it, we decided to invest more in the people that we have, train them more, give them better, benefits, better, more time off. We have unlimited time off. We have quarterly profit sharing, 100% health benefits for all the employees, whether it's family or individual. We buy kids and spouses, birthday presents. We, have Christmas parties, summer parties. We buy lunches every, all staff meeting every month, and, multiple times a month. We do some cookouts. We do, all sorts of stuff, just trying to, make this a place that you don't want to leave, and make sure that we got your back and they got our back when times are tough. And we can't have customers without great employees, and we can't have great employees without great customers that believe in us and support us and trust us. And it's really paid off for us here the last 3 or 4 years.
Now, you said one of the reasons for the move is access to talent. So are you looking to grow?
We are, yes. These last 3 or 4 years was all about, not the type of growth that every business is actually looking at, and this was a tough sell to my team, to say, listen, we're going to go from 300 customers. We're going to go down to 50. And, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I don't like the quality that the industry model is putting out there. I just didn't feel comfortable with it. It was too much. Like, there was just no way you could deliver those services that the people wanted and that you were trying to promise, because there was just too much chaos and it was all reactive. And so we've been building, processes, procedures, playbooks for every single thing that we do, every scenario that happens on a cybersecurity front. We have a playbook for. We have, it's all standardized. So from employee A through Z, it's all going to be done the same way. No one's going to do their own version. And that's what happens when you have a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
You can't possibly train everybody that's in and out of your business every single month, every single quarter. And then as what you end up having is a bunch of engineers that are doing things their way and not the ADKTechs way. And then you get some inconsistencies. You end up with misconfigurations. And then you end up with holes in your cybersecurity defenses because there's no consistency. And so, yeah, we've spent 3 or 4 years really dialing all that stuff in. And so now there's no concerns about sleeping at night about the service delivery levels that we're going to provide. And so now we got that strong base. We put in a lot of work, and we're going to go and we're going to, we're going to go ahead and start rolling that out, to the companies that need that level of service.
So you saw the value of building in sort of that infrastructure for yourselves, that it's going to create efficiencies across the board for you.
Yes. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, the exposure, obviously, 30,000 cars a day driving by your brand is obviously, a perk. But it's a nice building. It's it's great vision. It provides that multi-use dream, that we kind of been looking for, that like people, hey, there's a barber shop in there, there's a salon in there, there's a coffee shop. So, and IT people like a lot of coffee, and
Yeah, I'm saying that to them today.
Right. Yeah. And you got a car wash right next door. So there's some other perks that we're going to add to for our team. Like, hey, here's some car washes on the company. You want a, haircut, you don't have to take a couple of hours off to go do this, or do it on a Saturday down the hallway and, on your lunch break, or, whatever, take an extra 15, 20 minutes on your lunch break, get your haircut, and, do some business right there inside the building. And like I said, it's kind of fit some of that dream that I was looking for over the years. And the time was right, and we're ready to grow, and we're ready to provide those, and have additional benefits to our customers, or to our team, I should say, outside of the pay and the benefits and all those things. Just give them some conveniences. Time is a form of currency as well, though. The more efficient you can be with your time, and the closer we can put our team to those efficiencies, they get some time back in their personal lives, and time is a big thing these days, right? I know a lot of people want to enjoy their personal time and not be working nights and weekends. So our focus on the technology and efficiencies and delivering a higher level of service is increase the time our team gets to spend with their family, and decrease the time our customers are down and they get to spend time with us. If they're not spending time with us, we're doing our job. So.
Yep, absolutely. So what sort of roles are you looking to fill?
The immediate need is we're gonna add in professional services role. So essentially, the roles that we have now, we're doing more specialized roles where we have people that are just dedicated to just on-site services. Being there for the customer. Making sure that when they order a laptop, they order firewall switch. Any of those. We call them quick hitters. That as soon as they come in, we have somebody just dedicated to getting them right out. So from quote to install, we're looking to put that down to just a couple days. So the cog in the wheel there is going to be how quick our vendors can ship it to us. But we really want to get solutions in and get solutions out. And businesses have to move at a much faster pace today than they did 15, 20 years ago. And people want stuff yesterday, Amazon, Walmart, delivery, grocery and home services, things like that. So our customers have to compete at a much faster rate with their competitors than they ever did, and so we want to do the same thing. They want to get new technology in, they want to get new solutions in. We're streamlining that process so that as we, place orders and they come in, they're going out the door as fast as they can. And our customers, need that, product or service at hand as quick as possible to do their job.
Can you give me sort of a list of the services that you're providing?
Yeah. So, essentially what we do, like I said, it's all in, all you can eat IT type thing. I know that's kind of like the moniker there, the phrase that everybody uses, but essentially, we still provide the traditional, IT services, that all of our other competition provides. We sell laptops, hardware, servers, provide, cloud solutions and things like that. But the main thing that we provide, the main separator that we provide is the guidance, right? We want to sit in with our customers and provide strategy and really get to know what their business is. And I've said this for years, one of the funnest parts of my business is not just installing technology. I love installing technology. I love, doing some migrations that are pretty complex that go off seamlessly. But the big thing is learning how other businesses operate. We have multiple insurance companies. We have multiple dentist offices. We have multiple large manufacturing and companies. And to see the way they all do business differently, and then for us to be able to take technology and insert that into those locations or, into those different, businesses and have the same technology, enhance a company in a different way. That's really what our differentiator is. And our tagline and for years has been, we make technology work for you. So a lot of people will try to take technology and say, well, that's just the way it is. And, I'm the IT guy. And this is the way it's got to go. And we don't do that. We're like, okay, let's learn about your business. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is your hurdles? Tell us what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what makes you you, right? And then we listen. We shut up and we listen to what their problem is, and we say, okay, here's how we can take the technology that's out there, and it's how we can leverage this to enhance that, workflow and enhance the way that you connect and simplify the way that you connect. And we're taking businesses that used to call in all the time. I can't get my VPN to connect. I'm in Aruba and I'm on vacation. I need this. And all that stuff is gone. Now people go and we have conditional access that's built in and AI that learns where they use and access data from. And we have a lot of that stuff that streamlines all those things and makes the end user's life easier, a little bit more free. Our goal is to be unnoticed. And so, the change that we've made in the last 4 or 5 years, traditional help desks look like they're, 60, 80 tickets in the queue waiting to be worked. I think just at the end of last year, Cody, who's our service manager, him and his team, we had managed over 2,000 endpoints. We had one single ticket that was in the queue to be worked on. And that's the definition of being proactive rather than reactive. And, that approach, like I said, has made us efficient, saved us money, saved our customers money, increased our service level. And it's really changed everything, across the board for us.
So am I right in thinking that this is more like you're an outsourced CTO, chief technical officer for businesses, a partner rather than an outsourced Technology
Yeah,
company.
the
Yeah.
word they used right there is partner. That's,
Yeah.
we don't want to be a line item. We don't want to be an expense.
Mhm.
If we're an expense on somebody's, yeah, balance sheet or, on their P&L, and they look at it and say, well, ADKTechs is costing us, $10,000 this year. We want them to be looking at more of like, wow, we haven't had any downtime this year. We
Yeah.
spend $10,000 or $12,000 a year, and we've been up. We've been available to our customers. We haven't been fighting our technology. We've been more efficient because of it. And so, yeah, and we do the outsourced VCIO, which is the chief information officer. So very
Mhm.
similar to what I mentioned. And yeah, we partner with them and help them budget and help them see what's what do they got going on? Are they expanding? What should they be aware of? Do they have software that can be moved to the cloud? What is the pluses and minuses of that? Talk them through that. Be there to consult with them. And it's the same price every month. There's no, well, oh, you want us to take a look at this software that you're thinking about moving to the cloud? Oh, let us, charge that separately because that's not help desk support.
Mhm.
We just give them, one price. What do you got going on? And, what can we help you with?
It's interesting that you mentioned like more like an information officer than technology, that you're dealing with information from all sides versus
Mhm.
just the tech aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity programs are not only just like technical based, but it's administratively based and operationally based. So, it's one of the big things right now is like everybody's jumping into AI, and what a lot of people don't realize is that like AI, like you take your financials and you put those into some of those AI agents and engines. It's learning what your financials are. It's putting information out there that hackers can then use and manipulate AI to gain information, to social engineer and work up information on your company. So it's more of those things like, hey, AI is good. Well, let's talk about some of the drawbacks and let's talk about how we roll this out in a controlled fashion. Because it can get out of control fast. And it's like, they used to call it shadow IT. Now it's like shadow AI, where you might have 20 employees in your business, and some of them are using Chat GPT, they're using Copilot, they're using Google Gemini. All this information is being trucked into all these AI engines all over the place. And you, as the business owner or the principals, may not know what information is flying out there and what's being learned by these AI engines. And so we look to just provide some guidance on that. Just like we're not trying to slow your progress, we're trying to guide your progress and make sure you're not, opening yourself up to some things out there that's you may not be aware of.
So you reduce the number of clientele that you have, right?
Yeah.
Strategically, but
Yeah.
you are taking on new clients.
We are, yes. We never stop taking on new
Okay,
customers.
so who's a good client for you?
So it's first, I mean, I guess the first thing would be to have to value IT, right? It's not the cheapest price based, approach. Like I said, there's a lot that goes into retaining employees as well as doing a great job. We do, training as a requirement of our team, not replacement, and so we got to continue to invest in our team, invest in our tools, invest in our protections against our customers. So, generally they're, 10 to, 50 user companies. Those are kind of the sweet spots. We do have, much larger companies. We've had some medical companies that have, they have 150 endpoints and don't have a physical office. So it presents us, it's presented us with a lot of challenges from a HIPAA perspective. But all things that we're accustomed to. So yeah, I mean, the big thing is just someone that values, uptime versus the cost of their monthly bill. And so that's the toughest part about this model change is that, people look at what their month to month is. They don't even look at like all the little nickel and dime things that a lot of these other traditional models, take advantage of. Whereas, we've actually pared down, we've done the work, we've pared down the companies that we've had so that we can actually do every single service that we put out there, not just some of them, not sometimes, not part of the time, but all the time. And so that's been our biggest change here over the last 4 years is to get to that point of, no chaos and, delivering 100% of what's on the quotes. And like I said, the traditional models and, any, pay per, a la carte stuff, no matter how hard you try, it doesn't, it's incapable of delivering all of those items.
So am I right in thinking that a good client for you might be someone that's growing from 10 people on up, that's going to need maybe new systems to handle this growth?
Yeah, customers that are, have a need of compliance, and most customers are not aware that, New York State Shield Act that was passed a few years back, is a requirement of all businesses to protect, client information, not only, your client information, but also your employee information, right? Because if you're doing payroll, you're handling social security numbers, you're holding, you got driver's licenses, you have passports that you're taking for proof of employment, and you have that information stored on your network. So every customer or every company is required to do those services. So rather than make them a la carte and letting people choose a lesser level of protection while, holding us to, a higher level of protection, you just can't, it's really tough to do that.
Yeah.
So really what we had to say is like, here's the base. This is what New York State law says that you have to do. And in your industry, you have to adhere to HIPAA or FINRA or, CIS 7.1 or 8, controls, whatever that is, SOC 2 compliance, whatever those compliances are, that's what we're coming in as. Like, we're going to maintain that minimum level of protection. And we're not going to say, well, I know times are tough, and that's the tough part because the costs are going up. But a ransomware event could be, 10x what our monthly cost is. You know what I mean? So we don't want to just, we know that if we go into this level of protection, that we know we have, minimized, really puts you at the very minimal risk of exposure to those, types of incidences.
So that's peace of mind is invaluable, isn't it really?
It is, yeah. And like I said, as I mentioned before, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? Our employees are no longer working nights and weekends. Before, when everything was pieced together and everyone had a choice level of protection based on budget, they actually would spend more. They just would never factor into like, hey, we were getting our server restored for 3 or 4 days. What you can't measure is like, well, I missed, 3 new sales because we couldn't answer or, my computers were down and they went to somebody else. We were restoring all of our computers because of ransomware attack, or these people moved on to another insurance company because they don't trust us with their personal information anymore because they just spent the last week recovering from a ransomware attack.
Yeah.
And they sent me out a letter saying that all my information was exposed. So, that is really, like I said, the actions, like I said, we can say the words all day long, but the actions that we've done with the hours that we've worked, the hours that we haven't worked because of the preparation we've taken for our customers that's the proof. And we're able to do, a larger number of revenue with less people. And it's really, it's worked out great for our team and for our customers.
That's great. So what for the future, like you're making a big move to a new facility, you're looking to grow your staff and your clientele carefully. Do you see any trends or things that are going to impact your industry?
We touched on it before, AI is going to be that driver, and there's on top of AI, one of the biggest things that we're seeing is we don't lose a lot of customers anymore to I shouldn't say anymore, but we don't, when you're losing customers, traditionally it was like, hey, we made a move and it was financially driven. One of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is, hey, we've been bought by a, PC company, right? With private equity, and we've been bought, and in the next year, they're going to absorb us in. And so we've seen a lot more of that, and I would say a year or two ago when we were doing some planning sessions, we were talking about the consolidation that we've seen with local companies merging and being bought. We're like, hey, maybe as they get consumed, that allows them to manipulate pricing a little bit. And that would be a challenge to us independents that are still there. But really, no, I mean, we've had a number of companies bought up, and the challenge there is you're seeing a lot of the 50s and 60s and 70s. They don't have children that want the business ownership. And so they are really, as they're looking to retire, they're running out of the options of, handing that down to the family, like occurred probably a little, or did occur more frequently 15, 20 years ago. That was being handed on to son or daughter, or,
Yeah.
someone in the family. And now that people that are valuing time, and they've seen what their parents have gone through as in business ownership, they're leaning away from that. And they're saying, maybe, just, hey, to sell the company, and go that route to these private equity companies that are there to give you cash fast and, make the transition and protect your employees for a period of time. And so that's something that we've been running into. So, the AI piece, everybody's looking to be efficient with increased costs. And so that being implemented has been on the rise, that, those requests. And then the other thing is, like I said, from us, from an industry perspective, is, seeing industries of all shapes, sizes, and colors being purchased by private equity. Obviously when they consolidate in and they have their own IT, that's a, downside for us in the IT industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned insurance, you mentioned healthcare a couple of times. Are there any industries that you feel you're particularly strong in? I know you said any, but
Yeah, no, construction is another big. We have that's the vertical that we have the most amount of companies in. And years ago, I met with a guy and we gave him a proposal, and I met with this gentleman, and he looked at the proposal and his eyes went like this, and he's like, he pointed right out the window. There was a low boy, being towed behind a dump truck, and he had a bulldozer around. It was a D6 bulldozer. And he says, "You see that thing out there? That makes me money. You see those things over there?" Points to the computer in the conference room and says, "That costs me money." I said, "Well, that's why you should consider our proposal." I was like, "We have to change that. If these things aren't making you more efficient," and I know that the technology is made for some laziness and made for some shortcuts and things like that. But technology really should enhance your business. It shouldn't be a crutch. And that's what we aim to do. And so as I committed to him that day, I just said, I know that dozer out there makes you money. But please trust me, I can make this computer save you money and make you money. Let's talk about your business. And they went from, driving back from job sites that were in Schenectady back to Queensbury, driving from Syracuse, Utica, Binghamton, Plattsburgh, driving back the old fashioned way, getting change orders signed, or getting, doing payroll. Now we have construction companies. We have these, companies that are doing payroll in the trailer. They're printing stuff out there. They have, they're utilizing, utilizing internet inside the trailers to, stay connected to their offices. They're using devices in the building. They're keeping inventory. They're checking tools in and out. So we're saving them travel. We're improving their rate of getting change orders signed off on. We're keeping them connected no matter where they go. So we've really taken, kind of like that real blue collar technology thing to, hey, this technology's in my crane. This technology's in my truck. This technology's is in my pocket, and I'm able to do this stuff. I don't have to carry, big things of pen and paper and get signatures, and I can send everything electronically and look at blueprints on my phone. Just really sped up business, and speeding up business is leads to savings and lets them take on more jobs in a year. And so, and that's probably our biggest vertical, to be honest. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback. We've changed a lot of opinions from that dozer and that computer, and we've kind of put those things head to head with them.
So it sounds like you've really reframed sort of the attitude about technology as being an overhead, where it can actually bring value to even that kind of industry.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. And that's the thing of it, if the technology is just something that you work on, and one of our customers, one of our long-term customers is, Zajac Mechanical here in Argyle. And, Mike now looks at his laptop as, he's like, this is a tool for me now. And from someone who used to, that's only considered a tool, being a welder or being a grinder or being, whatever, he's now looking at this laptop as I can work from anywhere, anytime, whether I'm in a hotel, whether I'm in the trailer, where I'm in the executive's office, talking about the PMs that we're doing. This thing is connected. My phone is connected. I'm aware, and allows him to be more effective as a business owner and, and managing the job sites. And so and then allows even the business owners more freedom, right?
Yeah.
If you go on vacation, you don't have to fire up a laptop and a VPN and, take 16 steps to get to your data like you had to do 15 years ago. And now I can just pull up a secure app and look at all my data and answer some quick questions, put my phone back down, lay on the beach. You get some of your life back. I think we've been too kept secret, too much of a kept secret here the last few years. But like I said, we did it to not get bigger, and I think that the infatuation with size and revenue and all those types of things. My previous, life, when I worked for some companies, that was always a big thing: revenue, and it was big sales teams, and bringing in customers and feeding them right out the back. And as a farmer, I mean, I call that cutting down hay and turning it into bales of hay, and it's and they're in and out, so it's something that it was getting tiresome to do that. And so where we've really gone, I would like to have people just come check us out, come have a conversation with us, and see why what we do is so much different than everybody else that is in the industry. It's night and day different. And like I said, I think our numbers speak for themselves. I mean, our turnover is, 7x below what the industry standard is. Our client turnover is almost a 10x below what the industry standard is. We have 8 of our first 10 customers are still with us. The other 2 went out of business due to retirement. And
right.
So we've had, Tony is number 1 customer, and we still have him today, 21 years ago, this month. And we treat him like family. He treats us like family. And we, the rest of them, we do the same thing. And it's been great. And, we're looking forward to, what the next, 5, 10, 15 years look for, or, hold for us here. And we know for sure that the next 5 years will be in Merle Commons, and hopefully longer. I mean, like I said, Ben and those guys, Ben and Brian, have done a great job of that building. It's beautiful. Yeah. And, they gave us some, little bit of insight what a couple of our neighbors might look like. And that was pretty exciting news. But the place is beautiful. And we're excited to get there March 1st, and then, introduce or invite the community in to check us out and learn more about us, and, get the secret out there.
So if someone's looking to work with you, what's the best first step for them?
As far as, customer?
Yeah.
Or
recruitment.
Either you call us, we still like to, the technology has created a lot of technology companies to be hands off. When you call into our office, option 1 is for service. You go right directly to a human being. We haven't lost that, so say, give us a call, 1 for service, 2 for sales, 3 for billing, and,
That's
get
good. And recruitment, how are you recruiting? Through your website or?
Yeah, so we do that through website, LinkedIn, primarily. So some of the improvements that we made over the years in hiring is, everyone can put together a great resume, but we try to look for some people that we know, that we've known for a while. Is Nick Malik. He joined us, about this time last year. Known him for years, and that's kind of the routes that we're going, and opening our recruitment, first and foremost to people that we know in the industry that are respected, that are well established, that we've known and trusted for a long time, or our paths have crossed many, many times. And the big thing is culture for us. We've changed that culture, and I will sacrifice nothing. I won't, take more money. I won't take any more savings to sacrifice the culture that we've built, the piece that our team has, the camaraderie that they have. That's priceless. And so we're looking for good human beings first. And then, if you need some technical training, we'll get you that. Everybody's capable. And, but first and foremost, you got to be an exceptional human being and a good culture fit. From there, we'll let your personal characteristics take good care of our customers and blend in with our team. And that's, yeah. So if there's anybody out there that's fitting those qualities, that looking for the list of benefits that we have and the environment that we have and the team that we have, give us a call.
Sounds awesome. So congratulations on 20 years and going, and also best of luck on the move to Moreau Commons.
Yes, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you for joining me and listening to the Building Success Stories podcast. We've explored a lot of facts today, but more importantly, we've gained insight into what truly motivates and inspires a leader. Subscribe to the show so you never miss a lesson from our region's most influential voices. And if you found value, the best way to support the local business community is to share this podcast with one other leader who needs that spark today. For more information on the North Country Media Network, visit northcountry.media. I'm Ann Donnelly. Keep learning, keep leading, and keep building your success story.